Okay guys, I've been asked to do the flat felled seam I showed using my 1/16 foot and my 1/4 inch foot. Let me show you how you do it. This is a fell proof way and it'll give you an indicator. I'm going to sew a stitch using the length of my foot. The reason I say that, mine's supposed to be 1/4 inch, but it's actually about that far over 1/4 inch, about like that. And so it's more than 1/4 inch. So if you just do a full 1/4 inch seam thinking you've got a 1/4 inch foot and it's a little bit off, and I think mine's gotten off from pushing fabric through it. I think it's moved over a little bit. But anyway, let me show you a foolproof way of getting it right. We're going to sew this stitch down this seam, and then we're going to use this stitch as a guide for when we fold it over, and we're going to be able to see the thread in the stitch. That'll assure us that our seam is wide enough to hit with this wider foot when we come down and sew it. Because people I've taught and stuff, the major thing I've seen is when they sew these, they get narrow and along this curve here, and then when they come down here with this foot, it goes off the seam and then back on it once it gets to the straight edge. So this will give you a guideline to go through, and I'll show you when I press it what we're going to do. Okay, we've got that stitch there. So now we're going to move over to the pressing station, and I'll show you how to put the seam together. We're going to use wash away school glue to hold the seam. That'll require you waiting some time to let it dry. It takes about 45 minutes for it to dry, and be ready for that. Do it before, put the seams together before you have dinner or something, or you have something to do, and just walk away and leave it. And that will ensure much greater success versus you rushing and trying to do it and the glue doesn't hold well. But it'll dry in about 45 minutes has been my experience. If you can leave it for an hour, that'll be better. But I put this foot on here because this is the 1/16. This will be the first one we do. So alright, let's head over to the pressing station, and I'll show you why we sewed this stitch in. Okay, we're at the pressing station. So the first thing we got to do is fold this seam back. And when we fold it back, we want to make sure this thread shows on top. That'll assure us that our seam is, get rid of those thread tails, they'll get exposed in the seam. Alright, so we're going to use this as a guide. As long as that's on top, our seam will be wide enough for our wide foot to hit it. Now you want to be consistent with this. Just get it barely showing on the other side. Don't fold it over and get it right on top, but you just want it to kind of barely set on top. And that's going to be your guide when you're pressing. Now you can see where it'll get short. When you start getting down here, it starts wanting to go inward. this one went in again when I pressed it. Let me press it flat again and do it again. And that's how, when they were trying to do like an eyesight 1/4 of an inch, every time they'd come around the curve, the seam would get short. And what happens when you start pressing this other end down here, it kind of stretches it and it pulls it inward. Alright, that's better. So let me press this end down here. You have to be careful the very end of it. Sometimes it'll go out wider. And my iron is very hot. That's why it presses the seam down like this. Okay, come in here with a clapper. Alright, now our seam is set. Now we have to come in with this seam and we're going to embed it in here, but we're going to use wash away school glue to hold it down. So what I will do is I'll put the school glue in that seam, then I'll come push this in like this, and the school glue will be on the other side of this holding it in. Then we're going to walk away for about 45 minutes. We'll iron it on both sides with heat. Then we'll leave it for about 45 minutes and let that glue cure. And that's the most important part of this. That's what is going to give you the success. Okay. I'm going to come down through here and I'm putting it kind of in the middle. Kind of spreading it a bit with the tip. Now this is why we didn't press this one. Let me clip those threads off. There we go. You have to clean it up right before you put it in there. Now we're just going to slide it under there. Look and make sure it's all flush. This one down here is nowhere near flush. Okay, it's coming away right there. The other reason you want that on the top is you come in and fold it, it'll push it back towards the other side some. And we don't want to see that thread. So I'm going to pull it over a little bit and hit it with the iron. There we go. Because I don't want any chance of pulling this back over and that showing up on the other side. Alright, now we're going to hit that with the iron. We're going to turn it over, hit it on this side, as that's the side where the glue is. Okay, Now we're going to walk away and leave it. When we come back in, we'll pull this side up, we'll put glue around this side to anchor it down, and we'll leave it again for about 45 minutes so we can come in and everything's anchored down. Then we can flip this side over and pull it without it coming out of there. That's the key part, because you have to put some tension on it to get it right up next to that seam, and without that glue holding it, it's going to come out. So leave it. I'll see you in about 45 minutes and we'll take a look, and we'll come and put the glue on this part. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and do that now. You can actually do it now and let it all dry at once. So, and some of it may already be glued down because the glue seeped through down here on the end. It's kind of like that. All right. Now it's in there. If you make a mistake and you need to get the glue off, just take a water bottle with a spray on it, like this. Come down and spray it wet. It's got to be very wet, and then turn it on the other side. Do the same thing. Let it set for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then that glue will release and you can start over. I'm going to iron on this side. Yeah, I washed this fabric after I cut it. That's why I serged all the edges, and I wanted to test it, how much it shrunk, because I'm going to sew a pair of jeans out of it, and you can see the difference in the shrinkage of this. Well, no, that's the part with a seam on it, but the lengthwise it shrunk up some, and they were perfectly the same size before I washed them. So that's why you wash denim. I'd wash it twice and dry it twice before I'd cut it, because it will shrink in multiple washings. Alright, I've got that ironed down. We're going to let that set for about 45 minutes, so I'll see you then. Okay guys, it's been about 48 minutes since I left, so the best thing to do to test to make sure it's dry is pull on a seam and see if it moves at all. And you see it's in there firmly now, so I'd go ahead and iron it one more time. Make sure the seam is good and set. Okay, that's hot. Let it cool down for a minute before I start turning the seam over. Alright, I would turn this over first, a straight edge, and then work your way down. So this is the easy part on the straight edge. So put your finger right here, fold it over, keep that flat while you get a fold in it, and I'm just going to do a little bit at a time so I can be sure it's folded all the way over. So that's just that part right there. Now we're going to move down to the next part because it's going on a curve. It's going to take just a little bit at a time. You can tell when you're over, the seam will start trying to stand up. So once it does that, you can just put it down and you should be good. Okay, that's up next to the seam. Now I'll do this area right here, and you can see we're starting to go on a curve now. So we're going to start getting fabric bunching. You got to be careful when you iron it, not to iron it down. So just kind of work the wrinkles out. Okay, that's all the way in. Now I'm going to work on this area right here. Okay, that's good. Work my way down here. Now we're on a straight, fairly straight area again, so once you get around that curve, you're home free. So trying to look to see where my fold is. I got to get my fold right on that line to get it accurate. Okay, there we go. Okay, once you get it pressed over, if you're really brave, you can go ahead and go do it, but the best thing to do at this point is to lock it down with glue. That is already locked down from the previous glue. Let's see what's going on with the other ones. Okay, I think we're good. Sometimes that glue will seep through and it will help lock seams down. So if you want to, though, you can put another piece of glue along here, and I guess I'll go ahead and do that to show you the full treatment. So take your glue, just put a bead along this seam here. Come down the middle, and then I come down on the end real quickly. Once it starts flowing, you move fairly quickly with it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this one first. Checking under to make sure the fold's there, and it is. So I'll just let this start drying. It won't take very long with ironing it. Let me put my seam sleeve hem here, help this fabric unbunch. You'll see some of the glue come through on the top side. Again, once you wash it, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, just keep pressing down until it sticks. Okay, I've got the end sticking down here now. I'm working on the middle part. That area is not sticking, so I had to put a little bit more glue under there to get it to stick. help when you hit it with the iron. Alright, that should be enough to hold it down so we can sew it. So let's move over to the sewing machine now, and once I get it under the foot, it'll start laying down a little bit better. So it's not quite holding all the way to the edge there, but the inner part is, so that'll keep it in place. So let's go to the machine now and we'll sew it together. Okay, we're going to sew our 1/16 seam first. That'll be the one closest to the curve here on the join. So let's do that first. And my stitch length is at 4.5, so top stitching needs to be long. Alright, here we go. And I will be pulling on the fabric this way as it goes down. Try to get the seam nice and flat. And if you've got a full pair of jeans, you're going to have to roll it up to get it under here. So roll the leg all the way up where you can control it. It's a little bit different. You've got a lot more to watch out for when you've got the full thing, the full length leg compared to what I'm doing here. But it's manageable. You just have to get it organized. Okay, that's the first pass. Now we'll take this foot off and put our 1/4 inch foot on. Tighten that foot up. Alright. Now we'll do our 1/4 inch seam. We'll see how we do. That one looks good. Cut this thread. Alright, now for our 1/4 inch seam, which will give us our second row. It's the sound you want to hear. It tells you it's going through all the seams. That's important, because if you don't do that seam to show you where to press it over, once you get around this narrow area here, it can easily get out of control and your stitches won't go through all the layers. It'll go off on just a single layer of fabric. Just keep laying the fabric flat flat and pulling from side to side to get it good and flat. Okay, we are done. Let's have a look at our seam on the back side. Everything looks good on the back. It's nice and even. More importantly, on the front, it's nice and even. So that would be your back crotch. And it would look good. This area down here got a little bit long. I should have paid a little bit better attention to it, but I can compress that seam a little bit and it'll be fine. So, alright, well that shows you how to do it on a back curve of a crotch, and that's a real pair of jeans pattern that I cut this out of. So you guys let me know if you have any questions and I'll be happy to answer them. And it's getting close to Christmas, so you guys have a great Christmas with your family and friends, and have a happy new year.